وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذين استجابوا لربهم وأقاموا الصلاة وأمرهم شورى بينهم ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. We were talking on the rights of your opponent, your enemy. And we discussed this issue in several previous sermons. And of course, as you know, that we are talking in the light of Risalatul Huquq of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam. In which Imam has explained the system of rights in Islam and has explained that how we have rights of other people and other things on us. So after concluding last week the topic of rights of opponent, now we are moving forward to start a new topic, a new subject on rights. The next right that Imam has mentioned is the right of one who seeks your advice. Haq al-mustashir. A person who is seeking your advice, he has a right on you. What is his right? Imam says, Amma haqqul mustashir, the right of him who seeks your advice, فإن حضرك له وجه رأي جهدت له في النصيحة. If you know the answer what he is asking you as an advice, so you should exert all your efforts to give him a good advice as you can. Try your best to keep his trust. Why? Because he trusted you. He came to you to ask you a question, ask your advice. So you should try to give him the best advice you can. Of course, mustashir, the word mustashir in Arabic is from istishara or from mashwara. We use this word even in Arabic, in Persian also. Mashwara means seeking advice, consulting someone for something. This is highly recommended in Islam. Quran has emphasized on that. It is highly recommended, and it is of course beneficial for everybody who needs an advice to go and seek an advice. You should not shy asking something from someone who knows. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you don't know, you should go and ask those people who know. This is what Quran is saying. And not only this, Quran is praising those people who seek advice. وَالَّذِينَ اسْتَجَابُوا لِرَبِّهِمْ, those who answer the call of Allah. Whenever Allah calls them, they come immediately. They say, yes, God, I'm here. وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةِ, and those who establish their prayers. They always pray. They are good worshippers. They obey Allah. وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ, and their affairs is always shura, consultation, advice, giving mashwara So their affairs are run by their mutual consultation and understanding. Shura bainahum. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And whatever we give them, they spend out of that sustenance and that bounties that they receive from us. So look, between these two very important acts of worship, one is salah, the prayers, and the second is spending in the way of Allah. These two are mentioned together always in the in the Quran, in scores of places. Allah said, "Aqimu salat wa atu zakat." Establish prayer and give charity. So these two go together, hand in hand. You cannot separate these two worship acts. If you are a good worshipper, if you really pray, come offer your salat, your prayers, you also should in the same time be a good helper of other people. Help people with your bounties that you receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever you have from Allah. مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ. Many times Allah uses word zakat. Zakat means charity. So people think charity means just giving money. No, not just money. Money is one of those things that you can help someone with. One thing. Otherwise, مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Whatever we have given them, if you have any skill, if you have knowledge, if you have any potential, if you have anything, any belonging, any things that you have a special that another person doesn't have it, so you should share it with the person who lacks what you have. This is infaq fi sabilillah. This is spending in the way of Allah. One of them is advice. Advice is what? Somebody is coming to you, asking you an advice. Why he is coming to you, why he is not going to somebody else? Because you have some knowledge of that particular thing that he wants to ask about. So now your responsibility is to spend that skill or that knowledge that you have and share it with this person. This is one of those infaq. And also this is Allah's ibadat, Allah's worship. When you help somebody, helping is the best worship you can do. Look, we are talking about huquq. We are talking about rights. One time, rights of Allah was mentioned, and more than 50 rights Imam is mentioning about other people, other things. So after Allah's rights, of course, the right of Allah is the basic right, is the fundamental right. And on this right depends other rights. This is true. If you don't have fear of God, it's hard for you to go and fulfill your responsibilities towards other people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His right is to obey Him. Now, when we obey Allah, Allah is ordering us to go and help other people in whatever manner we can. Whatever bounty that we receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in whatever form or shape or manner, we should share it with other people. This is infaq and this is real zakat. That's why there are hadith that when a teacher teaches a student, this teaching is zakat of his knowledge. It is charity of his knowledge. And that is why, since zakat is not allowed for imams, so it is not allowed for them even this kind of zakat to seek from other people. Zakat al-ilm, to seek it from only another imam. This this is another subject. So an imam who is appointed by Allah, not the imam of your salat, imam who is appointed by Allah, he cannot seek knowledge from other people. His knowledge is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through his prophet and through his previous imam. Why? Because it is zakat of ilm, so he cannot seek zakat, charity, from other people. He is the one who is giving. He is not the one who receives from people anything. So anyway, look here, the importance of seeking advice. That Allah mentioned two these great and very important worship acts, salat and infaq fi sabilillah, means spending in the way of Allah. These two, between this, wa amruhum shura bainahum. So they pray and they give zakat and they share their bounties with others. These two, in between what? Wa amruhum shura bainahum. Their affairs are always done by mashwarah, by advice. Now, of course, this ayat, which is from Surah Shura, and it is one of very important ayat of Quran, and one of the ayat about which the Muslims are divided in the terms of explanation and tafsir of this ayat. Why? Because I am giving you example of this ayat, or I am giving you the reference of this ayat for what? For mashwara, for seeking advice. But if you hear it from other people, they will give you this ayat to prove the authenticity of shura, council, in regard with appointing divine leadership. This is not acceptable. Why? Because look, the word here, wa amruhum shura bainahum. Shura, council. So if you say that, okay, we can make somebody as a leader and he will be a religious leader through selection of shura, of council. Few people, few Muslims get together and say, okay, we appoint him as a Khalifa. He is the leader of Islamic Ummah. And other people should accept it. Why? Because this is shura, and Quran says, وَأَمْرُهُمْ shura bainahum. They are going to solve their problems through shura. So this is a problem we have. We don't have leadership. So let's select somebody or elect somebody as a leader through shura, and Quran says, وَأَمْرُهُمْ, their affairs are done by shura. So this is shura. We say, no, this is not shura. Why? Quran is very eloquent, brothers. Look, Quran is very eloquent, and if you reflect on the words that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses, you can get the meaning there, right there. You don't need to even go to other, many times, you don't need to go to other sources, except the sources, explained by Quran itself. وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. Those who have real knowledge of Quran, and they are Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Why? Because the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has left them with Quran. إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمُ الثَّقَلَيْنِ. I am leaving two things, Quran and Ahlul Bayt. So he left two things, Quran and Ahlul Bayt. If you want to understand what Quran is, if you are confused about Quran somewhere, if the meaning are not clear, if any ayat is ambiguous and mutashabih, so you have to go to whom? Don't appoint by yourself somebody. No, appointed by the Prophet himself, appointed by Allah himself. وَأَهْلُ بَيْتِي, Quran and Ahlul Bayt. So go to Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt will explain to you what Quran is saying. So here, أَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ, this advice, this counsel is good. Where? Not in the issue of appointing divine leadership. Nobody has a right to appoint anything which belongs to Allah, which should be from Allah. Guidance from Allah only. So you cannot appoint a guide and say this is a guide to the right path. You cannot appoint him. You cannot appoint or select or elect a prophet, a messenger, and say, okay, this is messenger of Allah. Why? Because everybody voted for him. So by election or selection, you cannot, make somebody as a prophet or a messenger. The same thing is imam, divine imam. The leader, if you call him divine leader, divine means what? From Allah. So how can you appoint divine? Can you make a book and say this is book from Allah? Everybody voted for this book, let's respect this book as book of guidance. No. Can you say, okay, we are very far away from Mecca, and it's very hard for us and very expensive to go for Hajj there. Let's make a house here, and all Muslims in North America, let's all together vote for this. Let's agree to have a house here, and we'll come here and worship here and do the tawaf and all those rituals that we have to go and do it there in Mecca. Let's do it there, here, in this place. Can you do that? No. Why? Because this house, when you call it house of Allah, it should be from Allah. Allah should tell us which house we should go for pilgrimage. We cannot make a house and make it sacred and then say, come, let's do the pilgrimage here. It should be from Allah. The same thing, divine leadership. It should be from Allah. You cannot appoint somebody and say, okay, he is successor of Rasulullah. Of course, you can appoint your own successor. You say, he is my successor after me. But how can you appoint successor of whom? Not just prophet of Allah. So look, the reference goes to whom? To Allah in the end. So he is from Allah. You have no right, I have no right to appoint someone for the Prophet of Allah. Prophet of Allah himself is going to appoint and say, look, he is my successor. He is my wasi. He is my khalif or khalifa. Right? Then how about this ayat? Ayat says that their affairs are, solved, their problems are resolved, their conflict is resolved through shura. Yes. Look what Quran is saying. Quran didn't say that they will appoint someone with shura. No. وَأَمْرُهُمْ. Their issues, their affairs. Hum. Amr, affair. Hum, their. Their affairs. Divine leadership is not your affair. It's Allah's affair. It's something belong to Allah. It is Amrullah. Just like prophethood, messengerhood is Allah's affair, is not our affair. Our job is just to obey. Obey, of course, after we make sure that the person who we obey is prophet of God. Not everybody can come and claim that I'm prophet of God, so we say, okay, he is prophet of God, let's obey him. No. If his claim is true and authentic, and we accept him as prophet of God, then we have to respect him and follow him. The same thing about his successor. Not everybody can come and say, I'm the successor of Rasulullah. I am the Khalifa, I am the leader of the whole Ummah. No. Here is the problem today, brothers and sisters, see in the world. There are some efforts people are doing to establish Khilafah. Establishing Khilafah. What they are doing for the establishing of Khilafah, look, this mentality, killing people. Just killing people. And the purpose is to establish Khilafah. Innocent people should be killed. Why? Because we want to establish Khilafah. No. Establishing Khilafah is not this way. Khilafah should come from there. Yes, you can select, fine. You can select somebody as a prime minister somewhere, a president somewhere. This is your affairs. But don't call him Amirul Mu'mineen. If you appoint someone or you select someone, let him be the prime minister, it's fine. It's not forbidden in Islam. Why? Because this is your affairs. Your affairs, you can do them through advice, through counsel, through shura. Yes, it's fine. You can consult other people, you can give your vote. For example, the organizations. We have an organization here. We can select somebody as a chairman for this organization, it's fine. It is okay. It's 100% okay. But if you select him and then say he is from Allah, this is not okay at all. Here is the problem. And the problem starts from here. Look, as we see here, in recent history, in our time, we see people claiming to be Amirul Mu'mineen. And look what they have done. These Amirul Mu'mineens, what they have done. Their oppression, their dhulm, their killing, their murdering people. Their terrorism in the name of Amirul Mu'mineen. Amirul Mu'mineen is the one who is appointed by Allah and announced by Rasulullah, and he should be infallible. Amirul Mu'mineen, real Amirul Mu'mineen should be infallible, just like Rasulullah. He should be sinless. He cannot kill somebody unnecessarily and any innocent person. No. He cannot even do a very little injustice. Look, Amirul Mu'mineen, what he has said. Amirul Mu'mineen, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he is real. He is real Khalifa. He was appointed by Allah and by Rasulullah. He says that لو أعطيت الأقاليم السبعة, if somebody gives me 7 continents, means the entire world, 7 continents, وما تحت أفلاكها, and whatever is in them, not just the land, with all the treasures and all the resources of these 7 continents, somebody gives me and say, okay, take this. على أن أعصي الله في نملة أسلبها, that he gives me this with one condition, and says, okay, take this, the whole, 7 continents, the whole world, with all its resources. Just do one thing. Look, this ant, she has a little food in her mouth. Go and snatch this food from her mouth. I'm not going to do it. Imam Ali says, I'm not going to do this little oppression and this little injustice and wrongdoing with this little ant to go and snatch a little food that she is holding in her mouth. Even though if somebody gives them the whole world. Now, people, for a very little amount, go and kill innocent people, children, women, people, for little amount of money or for little fame or for very cheap politics. They do it. They are doing it in the world. That is happening today. So Islam is a religion of Allah. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is adil. Allah is just. And we always talking about justice. Everything, whatever we talk about, in any way, we have to go and give a reference of justice there. So, amruhum shura bainahum doesn't mean that your affairs, Khilafat is not your affair, Nubuwwat is not your affair, Book of Allah is not your affair, Islam itself is not your affair. Your affairs, at home, you have to decide something, come and take consult of the family members. If you want to do something in this organization, yes, consultation is a good idea. Consult with other people and make your decisions with consultation. This is your affair. You want to run a country and there is no divinely appointed leader there, then of course you have the right to go and select somebody as your leader with those conditions that he should follow the laws of justice. Yes, fine. It is okay to do that. It is your affair. So when Allah says, وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ, wrongfully people use it as evidence to appoint religious guide, religious leader. While Quran says, وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ, their affairs are done by mutual consultation, understanding, and advice. We will be, inshallah, talking more on this as this is a new subject we started today, the importance of seeking advice and the rights of the person who seeks advice, and the right, then after this, Imam speaks about the right of the person who gives you advice. Both have rights. Look, there is a system of rights in Islam. There are relationships. In every single relationship, we have to pay some rights. We have to give some rights. We have to fulfill our responsibilities towards those rights. We cannot violate those rights. There are rules and laws in every kind of dealing and relationship in Islam, in our life, in our daily life, in every minute, in every second in our life. We have some responsibilities to fulfill. There are some rules and laws to follow. And if you follow it, you will be considered as a just person. Islam always emphasizes on justice. In our affairs, in our issues, we always should try to seek advice of knowledgeable people, good people, those who are expert in that particular subject in which we need an advice. And inshallah, I'm going to mention few ahadith on that from our infallible leaders, how they emphasize on mashwara, seeking advice. Seeking advice is one of the things that may protect us from so many problems. We can get rid of so much issues that we don't like in our life to come if we do correct mashwara. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq and ability to always follow the rules and laws of Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam. إن أحسن الحديث وأبلغ الموعظة كتاب الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.